You cannot do this shit without clarity. Clarity is so important. So yeah, that's where we're at. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all want to see, what y'all want me to talk about, what y'all want to be doing this. But as for the business, as for what I'm working on, I have a couple of things that I'm working on right now. Top of that is working out and getting clear on my content strategy, which I feel like I've done. I feel like I've gotten kind of clear on the content I'm going to be creating for my different channels, because trying to do that without knowing what you're doing with it, like just kind of that whole creating content just to create it, or just doing what everybody else is doing, posting just to post, it's fun, it's cool, but it's not sustainable. It doesn't last. And my whole goal with this is to try to work smarter, not harder, so that I can show up and continue to put out content, social media, be active on platforms, but also be able to show up my communities, build up my platform, do everything that I need to handle on the back end while still being able to show up on the front end, the consumer side. Makes sense? Okay. So having a system and a workflow in place for the content I'm creating, you can't really do that until you know very clearly, like, this is the content I'm going to be producing, this is the series I'm going to be creating, this is how I'm going to record my content, I'm going to use these platforms to edit. You have to be clear on that so that you can know, okay, this is the content I'm creating, and you can get it all lined up and consistently show up. And that only becomes important once you figure out what you're selling and what your foundation, your offer, and all that looks like. Because it does you good to be pumping out content and you don't even know where you're sending people. You don't know where they're going, how you're monetizing, what the purpose of all this is. You're just kind of putting out content for the sake of it. Does you really know good? You're just kind of like running in place, as opposed to having that foundation in place, knowing where you're sending everybody, having a clear understanding of your business, your brand, how you connect with people, how you convert people. Once you figure them out, the foundation and then content strategy, it just becomes like you can print money low key. Because you know, okay, this is where I send people, this is what they're looking for. Now I just got to put out the content and the marketing, and then boom, 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 just wait for it to take off. And as long as, like I said, same with yourself and how you're growing and developing, as long as you're constantly looking at what you're doing, looking at the content you're putting out, looking at what results you're getting, as long as you're constantly paying attention to that and then adjusting as you go, it's almost like you can't lose, like you can't fail with this. Like, at least that's how I see it. Of course, there, like, you can have a misunderstanding of market fit, you can have a misunderstanding of your audience. There are things that you can misunderstand that will sabotage your potential to see success. You do everything right and you just show up consistently standpoint, I don't see how you cannot make it. So yeah, that's just how I see it. That's just my perspective on it. But yeah, so content strategy, clear on that. If you don't know, I'm working on building a community called Marketing Mastery. There'll probably be a link down to it under this. Check it out if you want. But yeah, the 21-day challenge is going to link. I also have a idea for a content series I'm working on for my personal brand page, where I will partner with different local businesses and stuff, just going to different cities, different areas, tapping in with different business owners, reaching out, setting up times to come by the restaurant or area, whatever, and just shoot some content, see if we can create a partnership. And then I feel like there's a lot of different ways that you can do. Literally anybody in any city, anywhere can do that. Going to different, like, kind of tourist heavy spots, or like places where they need guests or need recommendations, like go to different cities, find different places, and just go talk to different business owners, like, hey, can I come in and shoot some content? Once you create the content, send it over, or like tag them, then come back and be like, hey, if you're looking for somebody to shoot for you, connect with you, do whatever. It's a really easy transition because you already led with value. You already showed up and showed, like, hey, I can provide this value, I can provide this resources, I can do this content. Is this something that you would need for your brand? Can we figure something out to make it work? That is super, super. Anybody in any city can make that happen with a cell phone and just walking into a business. Of course, there's like little nuances and stuff that will probably make you more successful, but you don't need a lot of training or understanding to go and talk to some business owners and be like, hey, I can provide this service. As long as you can actually provide that service, show some quality work. So yesterday I had my assistant go in and build out some workflows that I had structured out for, which actually I can show that to you. Okay, so a couple of days ago, I went into ChatGPT while I was getting the community set up. I went in and had it map out a workflow for my community based on purchases. I have it set up in Circle, right? That's a platform where you can host your communities, you put courses, digital products, all that stuff. I have my community set up there, and I really like their platform. But my CRM, my customer relationship manager, like email marketing, all that, that's all set up in HighLevel. and I've been using High Level for years. It's like my favorite go-to platform. So I wanted to make sure I had Circle talking to High Level, and I was getting emails sent out from my High Level after people sign up for Circle. So if people join the 30-day trial, I want to make sure I'm sending different messages during that 30-day trial, keeping them kind of active, trying to keep pushing them towards the community, letting them know when their subscription was coming to an end. If they wanted to cancel it, make sure they go cancel. And then also for other people who join the community, get whatever access, make sure they're getting the emails, getting initiated, getting onboarded, right? Just wanted to make sure I had that set up. So I went in and I had ChatGPT kind of map me out some different workflows for those different follow-up sequences. We call them post-purchase workflows. So basically the automations that get triggered after somebody signs up for your program, right? So I went in and had to map out a workflow for anybody who goes in and gets the 30-day trial, anybody that joins on the basic plan, anybody joins on the all access plan, and then anybody who joins on the private client program, right? Because those are all different programs. Those are all very different, probably potentially clients, customers who need potentially different things. So I want to make sure I have very focused and unique content for each one of those different segments, right? So it went through, mapped it out, told me everything that needs to be in them. And then I took that and basically gave it to my virtual assistant, Denny. Shout out to Denny. I had her create those workflows in High Level, and I had her use ChatGPT to fill out the messages for the emails and the SMSs, right? So today I got to go in and make sure it sounds like me, basically, which is like a general rule when it comes to using AI for your content. Never go straight from AI to email. You always want to go in and recheck, make sure it sounds like you, make sure it's using words that you use. It makes sense, give you some information. You might not even use the same process. You might not understand what they're talking about or how they're doing it. Make sure it makes sense. Basically, never go straight from AI to wherever you're plugging it in. You always want to make sure you add some customization, add some personalization, make sure it sounds like you. So yeah, I had her go into High Level and create the workflows. So today I got to go in and look through and make sure they all are lined up and everything is on point. Fix up the text, fix up the copy, make sure it sounds like me, make sure it makes sense, make sure it's leading people where I want to go, the right links are where they need to be. Just kind of go through and clear all this up and make sure it's all good, right? Down here, see you download, you see say download the resource. It's all right. It's, it's not supposed to be perfect. It's just supposed to give it a starting off point. But yeah, so I'll go through, change all these out, make sure they're all good, all the messaging is good. And then later I got a call set up with one of my friends who is gonna help do an interview for a book that I'm writing, which that's way down the line. We'll talk about that a lot later. But yeah, that's mainly where we at today. I don't know, like, if I should like have a quote or say some spectacular. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Like I said, let me know what y'all think, what y'all want to see in the next one, what y'all are interested in, what y'all want to talk about. If y'all have any questions, I'll get those answered. Let me know in the comments. All that shit. Follow, subscribe. You know the things to do with the thing. All right.